I'm Paul Mueller. I'm from the Vatican Observatory. My field is history and philosophy of science.
I'm Chris Graney. I'm a professor of physics at Jefferson Community and Technical College in Louisville, Kentucky. My field is the history of astronomy.
This book you wrote a book about a Jesuit astronomer named Riccioli. What I loved about your book was at the heart of it is this argument where you try and claim what was at issue in the time of Galileo and Riccioli was not a religion versus science argument, but in effect a science versus science argument and a religion versus religion argument. You're arguing that really, from the point of view of the science of the time, the Tychonic system, geoheliocentric system, Earth at the center, made more sense scientifically than Galileo's system. Okay, now we know. Now we know that it's right to put the sun at the center. The Earth goes around the sun. But the historical question is what made sense at the time. Galileo saw, with great insight, that the sun's at the center. But the question is, was he saying that in a way which was persuasive to other people? Should reasonable people have believed him? Should the church have believed him right away? What I learned from your book is that in some ways, figures in the Catholic Church were right to hesitate to believe Galileo when he claimed that the Earth moved and the sun stayed still at the center.
My objection to this would be to say figures in the Catholic Church, figures in the astronomical community.
Scientists.
All sorts of people
Sure.
hesitated to adapt. This is
It's
a scientific investigation that is very difficult to figure out what is right. All kinds of people were trying to answer what turns out to be a really difficult problem.
So what intrigues me is you could say something like, the Catholic Church went with the best scientific consensus of the day to say, well, we don't think Galileo is right. Please God, I wish they would have left it there. Instead, they overreacted. They overreacted and put out an actual theological decree, a juridical decree, asserting what the truth of the matter had to be. So the Catholic Church just way overreacted for non-scientific reasons to a scientific claim Galileo was making. The Church's understanding that God made the world for us, that we're at the center of God's love and attention, became wedded to the idea that the Earth is at the center of the universe. The Earth being at the center became almost a symbolic expression of we're at the center of God's care and attention. And in fact, it became so much a symbolic expression, you start seeing it in iconography. You see stained glass windows, you see frescoes with the Earth at the center, connected with the idea that we're at the center of God's love and care. So you can see why, when along comes Galileo, along comes Copernicus, claiming, oops, the Earth is not at the center. Well, at one level, that's just a scientific claim. But in people's mind, it sounded like a theological claim. What? You're saying we're not at the center of God's care and attention. And hence this resistance, which happened to Galileo. So to me, the lesson is the church needs to have a light touch. It needs to know how to express its beliefs, its doctrines, its worship in terms of the science of the day, but to be willing to let go and shift when the science changes. You could jump ahead 400 years and look at Pope Francis's encyclical on ecology. Pope Francis is trying to reflect the best scientific consensus of the day and respond to it morally. What's the best moral response to this scientific consensus concerning the state of the Earth? That might be wrong. I mean, I'm not a climate change denier, but they might be right. It might turn out.
Science is an uncertain thing.
Science is
you
uncertain.
could find out something's different.
Future science could tell us that all our thoughts about how the Earth is heading now are wrong. 50 years from now, we might say that Pope Francis's encyclical was based on wrong science. But you know what? Pope Francis is right, in my view, to respond to the best scientific consensus of today morally. The church needs to be light on its feet to take the best results of human reason, the best results of science, to take them seriously, respond to them morally. Let the scientists do the science, but respond to it thoughtfully, morally, ethically. That's what Pope Francis is trying to do, I think doing successfully. That's what the church at the time of Galileo, unfortunately, didn't do well. They started with the scientific consensus of the day, but then overreacted tragically in the wrong way, in my view.